the name of our show.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to The Large Glass.
Welcome. It's our 10th episode tonight.
Oh my God, it is.
10.
I forgot about that.
Holy cow. I've been doing this for 2 months.
2 months, 10 episodes. Well, congratulations us.
To us.
Yeah.
We
cheers.
started drinking already.
We did, sorry. Because you know what? We're having this conversation that...
Right before the show, which probably wasn't a great idea.
Nope.
No, but that's okay.
No. Well, you want to...
Well...
Okay, so here's the problem, right?
Yeah.
We stream. We have the stream starting soon thing up on Twitch, and we're sitting here waiting to go.
This is a real learning process because you think it's going to go smoothly, and then when the camera turns on, you feel like a deer caught in the headlights sometimes.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Right.
So
it's like, okay. So for those of you that know me in my personal life, you know that I can be on and nuts. And Terri is much more reserved. And wait, we got people saying hi. So we've got hi from Audrey, we've got hi from Dave, we've got hi from Mom, and we've got hello, Todd and Terri from Ben. Hi to all of you, and thanks for coming. It's nice to see you. So our issue is that when we're sitting here waiting for that camera to roll and it finally comes on and we're looking at you, we're kind of like, hi, what's up?
So then I said, maybe we should watch some shows about how people do this.
Other talk shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course I thought Howard Stern, and Todd's like, no.
Well, I mean, it's not the type of show we do, but...
No, but he pops right into it with the hey there, and he just kind of rolls with it, and him and Robin have this great dialogue and stuff like that. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that our worry is that a big chunk of time passes as we're sitting here going, and the train is sort of pulling out of the station and it's really slow. It's sort of like chug. And we're like, Ben says, no, I wouldn't say you guys do that. Thanks, Ben.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
Sometimes, I tell you, we stream for usually an hour, a little more than an hour here, sometimes an hour and 15. And then we're done. We immediately watch the recording of us streaming. So we're here for twice the amount of time, and we're like watching it. We're like, it's hard to be like...
It is.
Right?
You get a little critical, and then you start thinking of all the things you could do again. See, like right there, I'm going to be like, don't touch my microphone in the next,
right.
the next thing.
So then what do? I watch these videos, I take notes, we go back, and then an hour and a half before the show starts, I go in and I grab Terri and I'm like, all right, look, I got an idea. We shouldn't do this, and we should do this, and blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, we're like, no, don't do that. And I function as a complete buzzkill. And she's just like,
Yeah.
It's true, though.
It is true, but that's okay. That's all right. So it's a learning process.
Yeah, it's totally a learning curve. We don't want to come into this like a couple of used car salesmen being like, hey, welcome to The Large Glass, because that's not how we want this to roll.
Yeah, and it's semi-scripted, but not scripted really. We have like a format that says we should do this, we should do that, but we kind of we shoot from the hip.
We know who our artists are.
Yeah,
we obviously prepare for that.
We prepare for that.
But everything else, we're kind of just like, and you guys are a big part of that. Like this chat, this chat, like we love it when you guys are in the chat, because it's sort of like, okay, we got some people to contribute to the conversation, and that helps keep us rolling, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, from my years of teaching, walking into a setting and talking for 3 hours, you guys know I can do that, but sometimes it's not, Oh, Carolyn Thau is here. Hi, Carolyn. And Ben's like, yeah, do that for next time. What, the used car salesman thing? You're both naturals. If you were rehearsed, I don't think it would be as much fun.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gotta lay off a little bit of the...
Well, no, I understand. You're a perfectionist. You like things.
We have an artist that's a perfectionist tonight.
We do, but when we talk about artists, in some way, they're all kind of perfectionists.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, a little bit
for sure.
Yeah. So anyway,
Small Bean Arts, Scream Like a Gamer. You want to know what? See, now this is why the chat is brilliant, because you just brought something up that we've been talking about.
So this weekend?
Yeah.
We were watching Twitch.
If any Twitch streamers are out there watching our channel by random night now, we're probably not talking about you, and you may have the same frustrations as Terry's about to mention.
Well, I think a lot of time they're reading the chat, and some of those chats are like flying by, and they're trying to make sense of what's being said and what to do. But a lot of it, they're just kind of hanging out, sitting there. So.
Yeah. So we kind of go through a variety of streams, and we see the thumbnail for what's going on a particular Twitch stream, and we're like, oh, what's going on here? And it's funny, you get a lot of stuff that's driven by image. You see a lot of,
Well, yeah, I see a lot of like I don't want to say gimmicks, because that's not quite it, but there's a catch. Like they're trying to hook you in by something, which is what we all do. We all have something.
A nice background.
Yeah,
a good,
Sure.
a well done, well groomed.
Yeah.
But sometimes somebody's sitting there in a bikini. It's like, or with body paint all over it.
Or something, like, and of course we tuned in. How much time did we spend on that one
Well,
person?
we're going through the list. We're going through the list, and we want to be like, oh, this person has 7,000 people watching them. Is it because of the bikini? And then so we go in there and we look, and they're not really saying much. Now, this could be, because we're in the just chatting category, this could be because they're big-time gamers on the side, and that night they just happen to be sitting there chatting when normally they're like killing it in, I don't know.
Maybe that's it.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, I couldn't quite figure it out. But
so
anyway.
You two are naturals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, what are your drinks? Yes, we're gonna get to that.
We're gonna get to that.
So Ben says, Todd, is the glass you're drinking out of jagged on the edges? No, that's the frostiness. It came out of the freezer. So this week's drinks are leftovers.
From the party.
From the party that we had for Wayne Thiebaud. So
that's what we're doing. So Todd, what are you drinking there?
Well, our audience is going to know what I'm drinking in about 30 minutes, because I'm drinking a Flying Dog Double Dog, which is basically, drinking this one beer is about the equivalent of drinking 3. So I'm going to go slow. But by about 8:35, there might be a little change in my demeanor. And what are you drinking?
Well, I'm drinking something that I can't quite reach because the microphone's in the way.
We have
layer cake.
More layer
Chardonnay.
cake, right?
Audrey, you'll remember this from this weekend,
right?
When we were sitting out on the
we were sitting
deck.
outside.
So trying to finish it off. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it off. There might still be some leftover.
Would you like me to pour any more?
Us. Yeah, why not?
Sure.
Get some of that. Sound is.
Well, we've got your pop filter. I guess I got to take the lid off. See, the beer's already affected me. I'm trying to. Dave, how many times did you see me do this weekend, where I tried pouring with the lid on?
There we go.
All
Very
right,
nice.
so
Thank you.
Let's toast. A little toast to Wayne Thiebaud. A little toast to hopefully
100.
He's 100 years old.
100 on Sunday.
On Sunday, and I had a drawing show on Sunday. Cheers.
Cheers. You had a drawing show on Sunday.
My live drawing show on Sunday. We talked a little bit about Wayne Thiebaud. We said happy birthday to him again. Dave's laughing at me. Is that beer from Dogfish Brewery? It's from Flying Dog. I think that's different from that other brewery. Ben's laughing at us. So, but the drawing show actually this weekend was really good too. We had a lot of fun on that. I thought that was a really successful show. Yeah. We gave away some really cool pencils.
Yeah.
Or one. I know that's really not an exciting giveaway, but it is an exciting giveaway.
It's a rare drawing tool.
If you come to that show, that's a major thing. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't followed us yet, please follow. And, if you want to support us, you can consider subscribing to the channel and, keeping us alive. And we have a goal. And if we get to that goal, which you can see right here in our channel, that little pink bar.
Oh, look at that.
Right, we're at 7 subscribers. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed to us. You guys are awesome. You're generous. We really appreciate it, and it keeps us going. If we get to 10, what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, well, I was going to say something, but then it's going to go off that train of thought. So why don't you go ahead?
I was just going to say, if we get to 10 subscribers, we are doing an art giveaway. An art, like a piece of art, a limited edition piece of art that was donated to us by one of our friends.
Yeah.
And he is fantastic.
He is fantastic.
And you're going
I'm thinking about him because...
You're going to call him out?
Because he keeps fighting with Jerry Salt, so...
He does. He's got one of the most fantastically critical minds for art practices I've ever known.
Great artist, but he got into a disagreement
with Jerry Saltz on Facebook.
Yeah, and I think he banned him.
He did.
Because
Jerry Saltz banned Glenn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he called the Beatles a boy band.
A boy band.
Yep.
That really made him mad.
Yeah, and I guess they're in some other battle right now, but anyway, you can win a piece of Glenn's
art, which happens to be related to guns. And when disagreements and all this come together, we probably shouldn't talk about that. But can we show them the work real quick? We can talk a little bit about Glenn because we've got an image of him up here. Now, I kind of took out the image of Glenn because I don't think Glenn really liked that image too much, and it's not coming up for some reason. So let's just go back here while I troubleshoot that.
Okay.
But the work that we have is a limited edition cast plastic piece. It's called Angel of Death, Flintlock Mechanism and Plate 2020. You can find Glenn's work on Instagram, a little bit more about him, at Glenn Lavertu, which is GLENNLAVERTU, all one word. Look him up, give him a follow, check out his work, and if you'd like to support us by donating a piece of work, if you are in fact an artist and you'd like us to give that work away on the show as a subscriber goal, we can do that, and we will talk about you until we hit that goal. We talked about Glenn 4 times now. Yeah. So, that's kind of a cool thing.
Yep. Mike Rader.
Mike Rader's here. I once disagreed with Jerry and he promptly bullied me. Yeah, what's going on there? That's...
Yeah.
I have momentary. I have moments where I disagree with Jerry.
He has a lot of power in the art world. So yeah. So
Mike, I'd be curious to know what happened there. That's
I would too.
That's a good story. And I'm gonna read from his book.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't.
Because we always do. No, we will.
We will.
I still like him. I think whenever you disagree with him, he just kind of slams his foot down and calls it a day.
Look, one thing we should learn from all this is disagreement's healthy.
It is.
Right? This is how we move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, Instagram for sure. I mean, that's his main. He does a lot on there that I kind of wonder. I'm like, wow, if I posted a lot of that stuff, I'd probably be banned from the art world for a while. I don't know. Sometimes he does some amazing things I can't figure out how he gets away with, but I don't know. I'm not going to go into it. Follow Jerry Saltz on Instagram and you'll understand what I mean.
I learned so much from him, so it's hard to hold it against him.
I follow controversial people so that I can learn from them. If I didn't follow people I disagreed with, I'd never learn anything. I think that's really important. So,
and I think he sheds light on a lot of artists that otherwise I would never see.
Sure.
Like he really goes. He's non-traditional in some of the art criticism that he does and who he finds. So. Yeah.
You guys are like Howard and Robin just without the swearing. Fuck that. Now we're swearing. Great. I'll insert a beep in there for the YouTube video when we put this in. No, I think that's true. He exposes people to a lot.
Yeah.
As an artist out there in the art world, I feel like he does a lot of good. And there are moments, as an academic, there are moments when I see something and I'm just kind of like, I don't know about that. But again, he's not perfect either.
No.
I'm sure, just like we sit here at night and we talk about stuff and then we get off the air, we watch our show and we're like, oh God, did I just say that?
Yeah.
He might have...
actually, I do that a lot, and then I find all these times that I've misspoken, and I'm like, should I correct it later? And I'm like, nah, if it comes up, I'll handle it later.
Yeah.
So,
you know, one thing, I mean, I'm constantly catching myself on stuff that I'm like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
But it's just who I am, and I'll try.
Yeah.
If it looks like it's not working. So Audrey's laughing at us. Good, that worked.
I love Robin Quivers, so I'm totally happy with that.
I never got into Howard Stern.
I know. You know, I used to listen to him long time ago before he went to Sirius satellite radio, like on my way to work.
Yeah.
I used to like him.
My best friend growing up, his father was a veterinarian on Staten Island, and he used to have, he used to breed and deal a lot with English bulldogs, and Howard Stern had English bulldogs, and one day had to bring his dog to my friend's father's practice on Staten Island. And he liked him so much that he started plugging the practice on the show every week. And my friend's father's phone was ringing off the hook, and he was already completely packed. Like, you could not get people into that veterinary practice. And so all of a sudden, he's like slammed with phone calls from all over the place wanting to come to him. So I was at his house one day. We're sitting there watching TV, and his father comes in, and he actually calls Howard Stern on the phone. And he's like, look, I appreciate what you're doing for me, but you're killing me because so many people are. So, I mean, obviously he's got...
Yeah, he's
I don't think when talking about art, we're not going to have that level of exposure. But he was never somebody that I kind of felt entertained by. I don't know.
I was young.
I'm not saying you don't need to justify it. You can like whoever you
20
like.
Years ago, so
Yep. Oh, Robin was an RN.
Oh, get out! Was she really?
Yeah, that's what Audrey's saying.
I wonder why I like her.
All right. WOR show. Yeah, it was a WOR show. That's right. All right. So. Let's see. Should we? Now that we've sort of talked about Glenn's argument with Jerry, I didn't fix the slideshow. Can we try to see what's going on with that?
Try.
I'm not sure what's happening there. Something's wrong with our slideshow, and I can't figure out what's happening, but...
I see that one with the 10 emerging New England artists.
Yeah, but it's not... Something's wrong. All right, you keep talking. I'm going to let you take the stage here, and I'm going to fix a couple of things.
Okay.
I won't be long. I won't be long.
So I guess I'm not going to be talking about our artists yet, just because we want to show Glenn's stuff first.
We do.
I got a text message from one of my friends that I used to work with, who's also an RN. Her husband was an art teacher, and she's been watching our show too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she said the nicest thing. She was talking about the Tebow show, and that just kind of made my week. That somebody was.
That's cool.
Yeah.
She first of all, she should chat more with us.
Yeah, I
if
think
she's out there.
She might watch these shows after the fact, but she sent me a text saying that she's been watching stuff.
I have fixed the slides.
So he has fixed the slides.
So Glenn Lavertu, who we were talking about before, who has donated a piece of work for our 10 subscriber giveaway, is in Art New England magazine in the most recent issue as one of 10 emerging New England artists. There is a page that is dedicated to his work and talks a little bit about him, which is super cool. Mm-hmm. And the piece that he is donating was originally and still is intended for a larger sculpture where he had to make a casting out of plastic. But as he pulled that casting from the mold, he realized it really made an interesting addition piece. Mm-hmm. So he's pulled 6 in white, 6 in black. You're looking at the black one on the screen right now. We have a white one to give to you guys once we get to 10 subscribers. So there it is. It's signed on the back. It is an AP, meaning it's an artist's proof. And if you come to our collector show next week on Tuesday night, you'll understand a little bit more about that if you don't know what that means. But this is a pretty cool piece of work.
It is.
And it's a great way to kickstart your art collection if you're looking to start actually collecting works.
We actually have it in our curio cabinet right now with some of our other pieces, and it's going to be really hard to let it go.
It is. It's worth over $100,000. Wait, no, it's not.
Not yet.
Not yet, but you never know.
You never
and
know.
Who cares? If you like it, then that's what it's about.
Yep. Actually, Todd bought 2 pieces of art.
I did.
He was sneaky.
I bought.
We collect this one artist.
We
and
do.
Every time they drop on a Friday, every month.
About every month, they drop a new body of work on
Yeah.
Fridays on their website, and it sells out.
He shows me a picture, And he's like, what do you think of these? And I'm like, I like them. He's like, which one do you like more? And I could tell where he was going with this, that he bought one, and there's two of them. I'm going back and forth, and then I realized he bought both of them.
I couldn't help myself. And we're not going to tell you who it is right now.
No, but that's definitely, it's an awesome sculptor. So,
yeah, we're gonna talk about them a little bit more in our collecting show at some point. Maybe not next week. Next week is definitely the collecting show, and we're gonna talk about collecting strategies and ways in which you can actually realistically collect art. And we'll do a lot of anecdotal stuff based on our own collecting experience, which I think helps to shed some light on
It's gonna be monumental, which leads us into our show.
Okay, I like that.
We're gonna talk about scale.
Yes, scale.
Yeah.
We're not actually, so tonight
we're not really gonna talk about scale, but we've been really liking these juxtaposition shows where we feature two different artists, and we don't really compare and contrast, but there's a lot of interesting comparisons and contrasting elements which really highlight each other. So, I'm spilling wine.
Whoa.
So tonight we're going to be doing that with two very special artists.
Yes, and the focus though is on how they work with scale. And so I think you're really going to enjoy who we have for you tonight, for sure.
For sure.
So,
I'd like to bring up that neither one had a formal art education. So that was something I really honed in on. And I think that they're both very successful in their fields. One is from Australia, the other one is from Japan.
Yep.
And one works very large and one works very tiny.
Yes.
So.
And the one that does work large also plays with scale in a diminutive sort of sense.
He actually does. Some of his most significant pieces he did just a little bit smaller than life-sized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that we like to build up to these people before we tell you who they are? Although it's on the screen right now, so anybody who has any experience out there and knowing some of these people, you probably have heard of one or the other. It happens. But why don't we take a look at them? Do you want to look?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So our first artist tonight is going to be Ron Mueck. And Ron Mueck is from Australia, right? He's currently in the UK. He lives and works in the UK. And he is a master of dealing with scale and the psychological implications of that scale. So here we have a piece called In Bed. Right? And I've got a piece I've got the same piece from a different angle. And because you're looking at this right now and you're like, okay, here's a woman in bed. And she is meticulous. Okay, so you might not be able to see this on the screen right now, but she is meticulously crafted, masterfully crafted in a way that makes it insanely believable. Dave's like, wait, she moved.
It seems like that.
Actually,
yeah.
On a couple of videos, as the camera is panning, some of these pieces they have a realism to them that is so believable, you feel like they're breathing. Now, to be honest, the believability, the realism aspect of this, at times, I don't like to focus on that. When a work is hyper-realistic, right, I'm hoping to dig in and find something else. And this work is a great example of that because its hyper-realism contributes to the psychological impact, because in order for these pieces to have the weight they're supposed to have, you have to believe they're real. You have to. You cannot make this kind of work in a loose, abstract kind of way. So, yeah. So let me show you the second image of this, and you're immediately gonna gasp when you see this. So this is the size of this piece, and you don't get it from the first image, but all of a sudden you're getting it now as people are gathered around it, and it is just staggering. It's staggering to be in the room with this.
Well, he does a lot of things psychologically with this. It's not just in the scale, but it's also in the emotion and the vulnerability of the expression of whom he's sculpting.
Absolutely.
And I think you feel this in almost all of his artwork. All of his sculptures carry that same emotion, where it's hard to tell whether it's the scale that's doing that, or the expression.
Right. Well, I remember when I was a kid, my mother had a copy of the painting. I forget who. I believe it was. I keep wanting to say it was a Goya. It was not a Goya. In the house, and he had those eyes painted on this portrait that no matter where you were in the room, they followed you around the room. And I used to love running around the room as a kid and checking to see if he was in fact looking at me. This does the opposite of that. It's almost impossible to connect with this woman when you're in the room with her. She looks right through you, right past you, and she looks concerned. She looks like, obviously she's thinking about something. It's really hard to get a read on her.
Like something's really weighing
right.
on her. Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you're faced with this, the cavalier. Yes. Now the question is, and I'm ashamed that I cannot remember who painted that, because I should know that. This was something that impacted me as a child. I should know who that painting was by. And when you say it, it's going to be like a head smack. Anyway, in this piece, you are not only impacted by the realism and the scale and the effect it has on your body in relation to standing in front of her vulnerability, the fact that she's in bed under the covers and you're standing there staring at her, you're marveling at her.
Yeah, you're in her bedroom.
She's in a different place. That she's, no, Mama's was not the artist. It was my grandmother's piece, who we referred to as Mama. Okay, so I'm glad we've decided who the ownership was, but we need to figure out who painted it. I know she didn't paint it. But I appreciate all this information. Thank you. See? What did I tell you? It's only 8:26, and this thing is starting to Right. So anyway, so here's a great example to start off with in terms of how scale and how Mueck really plays and toys with you psychologically. Here's a little setup shot as they're preparing her in the gallery and they're kind of working on her hair. I love this dude standing on the chair working. That's not him. That's somebody else.
I don't think that's him.
No, that's not him.
I'm not 100% sure.
It's not him. So here's a great example. And I've got a video to show you in a little while actually of them setting up one of his shows. And there's something very sort of revealing about the scale of the work as they're uncrating and setting up and actually sort of moving around the gallery space with the work.
Yeah, no, I don't know which piece you're doing. Was it the rooster one?
That's in here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Because they did the same thing with that piece. Like they were...
You mean the one that's live on the table or the one that's hanging?
The one that's hanging.
Yeah, we have that one in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's move on. You can see a couple more of these. So scale doesn't always have to be large with Ron Mueck, and that's what I love about this guy. Now that is him in the picture here, but he's got this elderly couple, and
it's two women. I think that's the name of the.
Oh yeah, it is two women. My
actually.
apologies. Yes, this one is two women. Correct.
But I love their expressions because they're looking at you like cynically. They've got the side eye going.
Yes.
They've got the age and wisdom behind it to back it up a little bit.
Right.
And actually, in some of the photographs, the way that it's taken with the perspective, they do look like they're to scale, but you could see how they're not here.
Yeah. And I think the thing that makes me keep using the word psychological is these pieces are never cute. These pieces are never fun.
No, even when he does babies, they're not pretty babies.
They're not.
It's in a raw moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And this piece, and I thought the baby was next, which is why I so quickly shifted the slide.
This is Wild Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a slide of this that I really liked. It had a whole gallery of Girl Scouts standing around him, looking at him, which is very strange.
That's a whole other
I know, because
there.
They're a little smaller than the adults, and then there's this guy sitting here in this chair, and
that's
you just
like installation art.
You see that those two things happening at once, and you're just kind of like, it really adds this sort of weight of it.
this one's expression, which we can't really see here too, like this one's called Wild Man, and he's like very, you know, shaggy, he's unkept, but he's like really tense and rigid.
Yeah.
And his expression too,
Do
like
I
the
have
eyes
another?
are at the side of his eyes. I don't know.
Can I look to see if I have another one?
Go
I'm just
ahead.
going to go ahead. No, I don't. Okay, I'm going back.
Okay.
So yeah, he has this, you know, this sort of captive, crazed presence in the room. Yeah. And then you couple that with the scale, right? And all of a sudden you have this. And I think this goes back to, you know, when we're talking about these two, right? Their size almost gives them not an insignificance, but a vulnerability to them, right? Mike Rader, the show at the Brooklyn Museum was great. It was in this weird space between being Romanesque sculpture and Hollywood magic. Yeah, I saw that show, actually. And that's a really good way of putting it, right? Because it's got that kind of, you know, when you say, you know, Romanesque sculpture, it's got that level of, there's a magic to that, right?
Now, do you know how he got started?
I don't.
So he was a puppeteer, and he worked with the Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
No kidding.
And that was his first love. He's not like trained in art or anything like that, but he had this love for puppetry and expressions, and that's kind of what built his segue into doing this hyper-realistic art. And when he creates these sculptures, it's actually fiberglass, and he also uses silicone and stuff like that.
Audrey had said earlier in the chat, and I forgot to address that. I'm sorry, Audrey. I saw your comment in there. She said, what material is this?
Yeah.
And so what you want, so we're going to get into his process a little bit.
It's definitely mixed media, because he hand roots hair and stuff like on the finer details. That's the hair is real hair. He's hand rooting it. But it's fiberglass and silicone,
so
and fabric and all that other stuff too. But
right, and long story short, to work with things like silicone and fiberglass, you can't just like mold them like clay, right? So Mueck's process is going to take you through a process of, first of all, sculpting clay, right? And then making a very, very beautiful, as a maker, I love this, but his process involves a very complex mold. And then in that mold, he's going to cast both fiberglass as well as a silicone sheen. And he's going to work on top of those things. And that allows him to sort of get the translucency of the skin. And Mike, I didn't mean to say magic before with that Romanesque thing. That was, again, that's one of those, it's coming back to me now, that moment. That's the wrong word. Magic's the other thing you said with Hollywood, but hang on. Silicone allows you to get to that translucency with the skin, and you can see veins under the skin. He can put hairs into the silicone that actually come out of the skin, and it's like, it's such a close replication that the Hollywood magic that Mike sort of talked about in the chat is dead on, right? These are so realistic, you think it's for special effects or you know, some kind of movie set on some level, right?
Yeah.
So that's the material, which is, it's tricky stuff to work with. I've worked with it before, and it's, you know, it requires a certain mastery.
Yeah, it does.
The Henson thing is interesting.
Yeah. That's what I found in my research, that's how he started. And then he just kind of, he wanted to be more emotive, so he went to this, he loved working this way with sculpture and personal expressions and capturing that vulnerability, the psychology in it. And he learned some of those expressions through the puppetry aspect, like animating through that way. But then he wanted to just kind of focus on this. And they were saying when I was doing my research, like, it's almost like you know, when you think about puppetry and you're bringing things to life and stuff like that, some people were saying that these sculptures are lifelike versus lifeless, because they're so still and they're unmoving, yet his realism captures the expression and the finishes that he uses, like with the hand rooting. And then I'm a nurse, so I always talk weird about this, but like the moisture, the mucous membrane, he uses these finishes to capture those details that make you think, is this person real. Like it could just be like the flaring of the nostrils or something that a living, breathing person would do.
You're making me, there's so many things you're making me want to say by talking about this stuff, because it's really, to me, this is really exciting. So before Ron Mueck sort of hit the art world in the way that he did, our go-to person for this kind of work was a guy named Dwayne Hansen, right? And Dwayne Hansen made very realistic human figures. Yeah. But I'm sorry, Dwayne Hansen doesn't hold a candle to this guy.
No, he was not as deep. He didn't pay attention to those realism.
Dwayne Hansen has value in so many ways, and I love his work, but in terms of the realism and the psychological impact of encountering these figures, and it has to do with that scale shift, which is tonight's subject, that's where Mueck really excels, right? And Mike Rader's like, hack. Dwayne Hansen's a hack? Look, I'm trying to be like, you know, I don't want to be fighting with anybody.
He's a pioneer. He's not a hack.
There you go.
He's a pioneer.
What do you think of that, Mike? Can we go with pioneer? But he's kind of like, there we go. There.
Okay.
So Hansen was a pioneer, which Mueck sort of took, to the bank. Pumpkin Audrey's like the clothing, shoes, slumped over positions.
Yeah,
every elderly lady that I grew up with.
The CHF.
Mike's like, my bad. No.
Okay.
No. I think I like that. Yeah. And there was something else I wanted to say about this particular piece before we jump in.
I wish you could actually see her face below the hand, because that woman's expression really has that, like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
Kind of, and I
like
wish
the side eye kind of.
Yeah, the side eye, that suspicious side eye.
Well, I mean, I think one thing you could think about just looking at these photos, right? And I liked including photos that had some kind of other reference. So in this case, Ron's in the photo. You can get a sense of what size they are. And then we move into this, and we've got spectators in the gallery, and you can see what size they are. And it really gives you the impact on some level. Then we get to this. And this is a girl. Right? And, you're looking at this, you can tell by the boards in the floor that this is fairly large. It's a newborn girl. And so I threw in a slide just to kind of get us to the scale. And this is gargantuan. Ben, by the way, Ben mentioned earlier, he's talking about reverse matrix molds, and I don't want to run over his enthusiasm for this, because Ben's work is also sculptural and very realistic. And so Ben, you're right on the money, and I had a feeling A, you knew this guy, and B, this would interest you. So I was thinking of you when we were picking this work. So Carolyn's like, that's just too freaky. Yes. But what's really freaky, like if you just want to talk about that side of it, yes, encountering this in the gallery is it throws you. It really throws you. But there's this fantastic time lapse that's available on YouTube. I didn't put it in tonight's presentation because it's really long to watch, of the making of this. It's in 2 parts. And as you see him begin to work that clay underneath, they're pulling the plastic up and he's working the clay, and it starts to come into being both in a clay form. Then the mold gets built around it. Then they pull that silicone and fiberglass piece out of there. It's, and seeing them all working around it, it's really.
I actually haven't seen it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm going to go look.
It's hard. And I'm looking at the time and I'm like, okay, I got to move through these slides faster, because we got a whole extra artist to look at. But here they are. I do have them. Look at her. She's like,
and I think we all know women like this. We all can relate to this because we've seen these people in our lives somewhere.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And they're looking at us.
Yeah.
And
it's funny, even with the scale, it's still kind of significant, like aside from that, it's still
because big. So they're small.
Yeah,
we're looking at them there's a sense of vulnerability in their size. They're looking back at us with the side eye that makes us feel equally as uneasy.
Yeah, well, and the one woman looks like she doesn't trust us at all.
She's like,
they're both,
why are they looking at us? We're not small. Yeah, Ben's loving this. So all right, let's keep going. So look at this guy. I mean, I'll be honest. This is not my favorite work of Mueck's.
No, this one, I don't think it's the one I'm thinking of. He does one called Adolescent Boy.
Yep.
But I don't think this one is it.
Adolescent Boy is the same form, but it's smaller.
It's smaller and it has a mirror.
Yes,
and
correct.
You can really feel.
He's used this form a couple of times in different scales.
Okay. And he uses that to project onto your own sense of awkwardness and reminiscing about all of that.
Audrey says Aunt Julie and Aunt Margie.
See?
We know these people,
we
right?
all have an Aunt Julie and Aunt Margie.
This one to me in the smaller form, I find to be much more successful because it feels like there's something, that I can really relate to there. This one's so large, it's almost cartoonish, and, I'm going to bring something up that you brought up as a talking topic the other day. But if you've ever been to a place in New Jersey called Grounds for Sculpture, James Seward Johnson, who is he was basically the founder of the Johnson Atelier, one of the premier bronze casting facilities on the East Coast. Basically, if you encounter a piece of public bronze sculpture, James Seward Johnson's facility probably cast that piece. And later in life, he sort of started the Grounds for Sculpture in New Jersey. And Carolyn's saying, so enjoy that space. Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic place to go and walk around, but it's hit and miss with the works that are there. I find it to be very enjoyable. I think it's a great place for people that are learning about art to go and learn about art.
I think it's a great public space for art. I think sometimes this is the only interaction that people have with art,
right?
And you can really engage with it. Plus, you can buy wine there, and you can walk around and appreciate the artwork,
which is awesome,
drink.
Right?
So,
right,
hey, win-win.
Win-win. But, and this is what I'm getting at with Mueck's large piece here is there's a couple of pieces there. I forget the artist's name on this, but there is a Marilyn Monroe over the storm grate right outside of this one building.
7-year itch. Yeah.
Yeah, 7-year itch, Marilyn Monroe over the storm grate. And I think she's probably close to 60 feet tall, 40 to 60 feet tall.
About that, yeah.
And she's painted in this very sort of pop icon kind of pinup girl way. And it borders on caricature for me. I can't take it seriously. I have a hard time finding... I have a hard time relating to that piece. Okay, that's basically where I'm going to draw the line. And I feel like there's two major grounds public areas on the East Coast for sculptural works, and there's Grounds for Sculpture in New Jersey, and there's Storm King Arts Center in Kingstown, New York. And I feel like those two things are very different places.
Amanda's here.
Am's here. Mueck! Tuning in late, but oh my God, his stuff's downright freaky in real life. Yes, it totally is. Yo. What's going on? Good to see you. So that's how I feel about Hanson. Yeah. I think we're on the same page with this one, Mike, for sure. So this piece to me feels like Mueck sort of strayed into that world a little bit.
That, you're gonna experiment as an artist, and not everything's gonna be some people like it, some people don't. It's anything.
In any experimentation, you're gonna push one button or one lever too far.
Yeah.
And you're gonna and I mean, I'm not gonna say necessarily that this doesn't work.
I don't like it either.
I just don't feel like it's his strongest piece.
That's okay.
Right, but let's talk about some pieces that are monstrosities that are successful. This one to me feels much more powerful. I mean, this is like
he really nailed it.
Yeah.
On this, yeah, he really did.
Mom, don't hate me for what I'm about to say. Okay. There was this time I took a picture of my mom. Am's like, can't wait. Yeah, my mom can. There was this time I took this picture of my mom where I actually laid down like sort of on the floor and I shot up at her, and she just couldn't figure out what I was doing. And I was probably being a brat anyway, and so she kind of looked down at me with the same look that this woman, where is she? She's over here. This woman is looking at that viewer with, and it really had that downward glance. I mean, we all know that, you do the selfie for social media and you go from up here, right? Because that's sort of a better look. But if you go down up, there's a much more imposing kind of view. You are beneath that person. And that photograph of my mother, of her looking down at me, made me feel like that child again. It kind of had that sort of downward sort of, don't you freaking do that look. And this kind of has
that's the psychology behind it, right? Because even when you're trying to talk to somebody, if you assume a position that's higher and you're talking down, it's got some authority to it.
Absolutely. absolutely. Yeah, and this feels like that. And my mom says, yeah, you named it the matron. Yeah, I did. The photo, I used to call it the matron. I mean, because she kind of felt like, the authority figure, the motherly authority figure. And that's kind of what this has. We got to keep moving here.
Yeah, we do.
All right, so here's Mueck working on one of these pieces, and I've got a video from this.
So I love this piece. It's only half of one. Yeah. Because there's the other half too. And I love this. It's an interaction between a couple that you get to be part of.
Yes. I have that. Don't worry. As a matter of fact, I think it's coming up. So
look
this
how
is
awesome those feet are.
Look at this.
Look at the detail.
I know. I love that.
He masters it.
And toenails are gross.
Yep. He gets the wrinkles in the feet. Like he just, you feel like you can touch it. You feel like you can touch it, and he really does a great job.
Audrey says sending the mom eyes. All right. So that picture of him working in the studio.
He's even got the callus on that big toe.
Yeah. You kind of just want to scrape it.
Okay, but you had a video?
Hold on. That last piece of him working, this piece with the feet, all are part of this piece of this couple on the beach, which Morgue feet.
Did you see, there was a video with David Lynch in this piece.
What?
David Lynch went to see, he saw this piece in the
I didn't
gallery.
know that.
David Lynch is a big fan of him.
Well, no doubt.
And he went to go see him, and he's interpreting the whole interaction between this couple. And he's like, yeah, the husband's saying something that she doesn't like, and she's trying to make a decision about it. And when you get close, and in that particular video, they're getting right underneath her face, so you can see her expression, and it looks really contemplative, and it's really cool. I wish we had that video to show, but you can look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, so a couple of things that have been coming down. So I got Pumpkin Audrey saying morgue feet. Ben's like, I'm commenting on the textures, absolutely. Mike says like the feet of David. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, because there's something about that. And when I stood in front of, I got to see the David, I was there. There's something about that. Like, and I think this might go back to your notion of Romanesque sculpture. This was not Romanesque, because David's not. Is David Romanesque sculpture, or is he Renaissance? He's Renaissance sculpture, but there's still something about the way they capture the weight, musculature, fluidity, and that kind of presence of feet. Feet are a funny thing because there's a weight to them, right? And this does that, but this does that in a very different way. With the David and it being marble, there's a certain leap the viewer has to make to get to the realism, even though the marble is still the marble, but their feet as marble. With this, their feet. And we don't necessarily think about the material. Like, we're not saying, oh, this is silicone and fiberglass, but their feet. Yeah. So there's a disconnect in the material, whereas in the David, there's a direct connection to the material. And I love thinking about those two things together. So that's a really interesting comment. Yes, so soft, exactly. Marble, and that's the beauty of the David, right? Is when marble becomes soft. Yeah. In some respects, and this would probably drive, I don't know if this would drive Ron Mueck crazy, but this is easy. Not easy in the way that anybody can make this work. I don't mean that like that.
I've seen some marble sculpture where they do fabric, and they'll do like a face beneath the fabric. Like, I remember when I went to Rome a couple years ago, and I believe it's Plaza El Temps, they had a sculpture where, I think it was that, or maybe it was the Corcoran. The Corcoran had another piece. It had the clock that was underneath a piece of fabric, and it emulated the shape of the clock beneath it, but
it's all marble.
It's all marble. Yeah. And they really got all those little nuances of the cloth, the flowingness, and flowingness is not a word, I made that up.
I like flowingness.
You like flowingness?
Yeah.
But they caught all of that, and that's, it's stone. It's a hard thing that you have to chisel away and sand down and ground it. Like, that's not an easy medium to work with at all.
Right. And Mike, maybe somebody out there that knows the Met well is going to be able to help me out with designating this. I hope. I don't know. But there's a marble sculpture in the Met as you come into, as a matter of fact, so when you come into there's the Hall of Sculpture in the Met. It's usually painted a maroon color. It's very, very long. It's got a glass ceiling. We draw there a lot, right? And if you pass through that on your way to the elevators to go up to the roof, there is a sculpture there that is on the table is marble, the plinth is marble, the figures on the top of the plinth are marble, and there is this one bowl carved in the marble that has spilled, and the liquid of the bowl rolls out onto the table. It's also marble, and it is polished to, you swear if you put your finger on it, you will sink into it. So so the difference in the way the marble of the table and the marble of this milky liquid, same marble, the difference in the way it's treated are two completely different things. And so that's what the beauty of this and reference to the David is that with the David, you've got a material that's defying its material components, completely defying. It's becoming something else.
Right.
This silicone wants to be skin.
It does.
Right? And so Mueck does a great job of dealing with that. Not many people can, nobody can do it like this other than this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's easy in that respect. I'm saying that there's a direct connection.
Yeah, you're working with a medium that wants to emulate what you're trying to create.
Yes, Mike, you spelled Renaissance correctly, I believe. Yes, it's a hard word. It's a hard word. Let's keep going.
Okay.
Okay. So I love this. And the one I've got to back this up.
I've never seen this one.
The next slide on this.
Is the next one the pregnant woman?
No, the next one is a woman standing next to this so you can kind of see it. But look at this. You see this, and you look at that little baby on her belly just having been born, and it's like, what?
Wow.
There's the scale.
But that's still such a monumental event. And he does another event, and I don't know if you have that one about his father. Do you have that one?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't have that one.
But whenever you talk about life and death, those things are so big.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. So again, vulnerability, scale shift. I know we're beating a dead horse here. It's like, yes, this one, damn. I think I saw this at the Brooklyn Museum in 2005. I actually have not seen this one in person, but around... Yeah, it could be. That might be the show that Mike was talking about earlier, and maybe I did see this one. I've seen 2 or 3 shows that he's been in, and they're all sort of blending together for me. And then, of course, this is a more recent piece with these massive skulls. Ben's gonna love this one. And so I kind of want to just move into a video right now because we're like really running over. We talked the whole show. We have another artist to show you guys, but I kind of want to show you a quick video that is gonna kind of, I hope. Let's see, how do I turn this on? Do I do this? Do I do this? I do this. Yes, indeed.
I love that screen.
I know, right? That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, take a look at this really quick. I think you're gonna like this. Have a look. There's that chicken. totally agreed about the chicken, Mike. I know. Yeah, Carolyn, I know. The impact is heavy. I love that shot right there with the small figure on the plinth and the two big ones. I know, yeah. I love these two. Ben's like, I'm going insane right now. Anatomy lessons had to be involved. Okay, so yeah, you guys had a lot of comments through that, and there's like a what?
Volume?
What?
On the speaker?
Oh, right. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It was making an echo.
Okay.
There's like there's a lot to talk about, and I really feel like showing this work being installed has a real kind of it reveals
balance to it. Yeah, it really does.
They're interacting with it.
They are, yeah, and you can really see the scale and the qualities of the sculptures. One thing I will say, whenever artists portray any kind of portrait of any kind, because these are portraits too,
right.
I always see a little bit of the artist inside of the portraits. Like I always see the artist in the faces somehow, and I think that's how we learn.
I feel like that one of him, the big head that we last saw.
Yeah,
that feels like him.
That feels like him.
Yeah, I think that's a self-portrait.
But in a lot of the figures, there's a similarity in them to me, and I don't know if it's just me or if other people see it too, but I just feel like that's how we, like there's.
You mean like people look like their pets?
A little bit, but it's true. Like when you look at like El Greco's work, all the El Greco figures look alike. When you look at Modigliani, all the Modigliani figures look alike. When you look at Mueck's pieces, all the figures kind of have a similarity to them as well.
Well, sure, because he's got, his hand works a certain way.
Yeah.
Right? And as he begins to stray outside of that comfort zone, which is something teachers try to do with their students, right? To sort of push them to new levels.
And I see a little bit of him, like his own.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Features. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
So Mueck's fantastic, and you can really take a dive with him. Like you can really go down a hole with him, and we're getting like
Obviously, we did.
Right. We did. And our second artist that we're going to talk about, who also plays with scale, is sort of okay. So I want to point out that Mueck, scale, and the psychological impact are heavy. These works are heavy.
They are.
This next artist is incredibly light.
Very light, very playful. It's the complete opposite. It's a little bit whimsical. It's a lot whimsical.
Yeah, it totally is. And it kind of is so now we're going really small.
We're really switching gears. We're going from sixth gear, which I drive a car that's a stick shift. So I'm taking sixth into first.
Which means your transmission just kind of fell apart.
A little bit. But it's all relevant. So this next artist is Tatsuya Tanaka.
Yep.
So he does a piece a day, and he's been doing this since 2011. Like Ron Mueck, he does not have a formalized art education, but he's a very successful multimedia artist. Amen.
Am says, nope, not my guest. She's like, I have a guest. Nope, not my guest. I'm stick shift too.
Yeah. Stick shifts.
Well, we had started off this entire series. The Large Glass began with Isaac Cordell.
Yeah.
And then we had a little bit in the Isaac Cordell thing with the guy who works like Isaac Cordell, who they're buddies. They do a lot together. And he's got the funnier street artist name called... It'll come to me. Slinkachu.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. See, I pay attention to you.
Slinkachu, Isaac Cordell, and Tatsuya Tanaka are all sort of in the same
They're all kind of in the same boat.
Working in this kind of miniature-esque, we can think of Charles Simmons as well.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
And he's young. He's in his 30s. He actually started doing this as an exercise a day. It all started in a very lighthearted way. He said that when so he's from Japan. When he grew up, he didn't have any toys. And he said
he didn't have enough toys.
He said he didn't have enough toys, and his one girlfriend brought him miniatures, and he was playing with them with pictures. And he kind of got sucked into this whole thing that just kind of took over. And usually what he does is he uses reclaimed materials. And then he started with little miniatures that you would find from, I guess, railroad.
You model railroading.
Railroading.
Yeah.
But then he would find these interesting juxtapositions with things that you'd find in everyday life. A lot of reclaimed materials, a lot of food, clothespins. And it's kind of like I don't know, a dialogue about what's going on in the world today with some of the stuff. Not necessarily this piece, but he does use face masks. Thank you.
Right, and it's a perfect swimming pool.
It's a perfect swimming pool. And if you go onto his Instagram, you can see it going way back for years and years and years.
I think the thing I really take away from this guy that I love so much is he's doing a piece a day. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's gold, because there's a constant revisitation of the practice every day. Every day. You engage the thought process. Mm-hmm. And you want to know what? A lot of these, for me, with this guy, miss.
Yeah.
But there are certain moments that are just gems.
I don't think any of them miss. I think some are stronger than others.
Okay, yeah.
And the thing with him is that, so he started with these miniatures, but he's also starting to go into the world of 3D printers, and he's going to do he started making his own little figures.
Yeah, he's got one of him.
That he's going to start implementing into these.
Mike says, I love the lettuce-scape. Oh, Pumpkin Audrey says, love the swimming lanes. Yeah, there's
He's a lot of fun.
He's finding ways to make relations out of the other materials, not the figures, but the other materials, and he's sort of calling attention to these things that we might ignore otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Like that bok choy or that lettuce-scape that's there. Mm-hmm. What a beautiful curvature.
We don't think about materials like this, especially everyday objects.
Look at that. And here's the thing, is this is partially due to the photography and the way in which the depth of field, the closeness of the lens sort of turned that lettuce-scape into the landscape, right? And it helps to have that figure sort of propels that into that place.
Well, so his little sculptures are only part of the thing, that he really relies on his photographs, but he also does some stop motion with them as well. So he makes them interact.
Right.
So there's some of that going on as well.
Right, absolutely. And so Mike actually says, I wonder if this practice, a work a day, is influenced by Instagram as a gallery.
I think it very well might be.
Yeah, because he actually mentioned in an interview, I believe it was an interview, that somebody said, oh, you should post this on Instagram. And then through his becoming familiar with Instagram, he realized posting every day was something you should do. And then he committed to the daily practice of putting this up. That looks like cabbage. Yeah.
It could be.
Savoy.
Yep.
As an artist, you train your eye to look at everyday objects in another way.
Completely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think every day revisiting the topic, I think really functions as a practice. I mean, again, if you only have time to work for 15 minutes a day as an artist, okay, let that be what your practice is. We never read from the Jerry Saltz book.
We didn't.
That's okay. That's okay. We talked about
we
talked about you, Jerry.
We did. We talked some smack, right?
A little bit
with her friends and stuff. So we mentioned them. We got them.
I love this piece.
Yeah, you do.
Dave will love this piece.
It's all about the vinyl.
It's and I can imagine that vinyl spinning under there and the light hitting that and that river going by as these guys are fishing from the log. Saltz gets enough airtime. Agreed. So anyway, I like the whimsical, playful aspect of this. But again, if you think about the differences between scale and working with scale between Mueck and this and Tanaka.
And actually the feelings that you get from looking at both, that you get so heavy and overwhelmed by Mueck, and we're looking at this guy here and we're like, this is good.
This is fun.
This is fun.
Yeah, this is like an ice cream cone, and Mueck is like, all right, time to eat your Brussels sprouts.
Yep. Like who thought? And I love the way he thinks about everyday objects, because binder clips, he's seeing this whole routine with them that I never would have thought of.
Right.
And staples.
I mean, I'm going to say something now that there's a delineation I make between these two guys.
Okay.
And it's going to sound critical, but it's not critical. I think both sides of this sort of polarity that I'm going to create here are both equally fine, right? And I think it just depends on what you're trying to come into the game with. Like, what do you want to see today, right? I feel like Mueck's work is very smart and Tanaka's work is very clever.
Yes.
And so there's sort of like, for Tanaka to recognize the gym equipment in these binder clips and set these little figures up very quickly and take the shot and bam, contribute to his daily practice. There's a quick sort of thought process here that has a brilliance to it.
I think it's also cultural. Like some of the Japanese cultural aesthetics right now are focused on a little bit of the cute.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of that whimsical cuteness that's coming out as well.
You mean like when we talk about things like Murakami and
like
pop culture?
You see some of that, like the pop culture elements definitely surfacing. I still think it's very valid. I love his artwork. I love that he's doing this every single day. I love his pictures.
Absolutely.
I love what he's putting into it. The attention to detail is insane.
Well, if you think about it, if you take Mueck and the work that he produces and you don't think about time, right, then there's a craft level there that we're not thinking about how much time it took. We never even talked about that with that work. Nobody said, how long does it take him to make one of these?
Yeah.
We're talking an enormous amount of people, manpower, and time, right?
Yes.
And so we only think craft and believability. With this guy, he's doing this very, very quickly as a daily practice, and there is a real sense of completion and craft here, right? There's a real finished sense to this. And so if we inject time into the equation, these are fantastically crafted, right? Given that he doesn't have, so this one I had some fun with, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, all right, we saw oranges, we saw a towel and some clothespins, we saw an Apple iPhone box. What's this?
I don't know. Hold on, let me think.
Agreeing with the cute. Yes. So they're somewhat precious. Yeah, totally.
Very, very cute.
Dave says, love the fishing from the tone arm. Yeah, I know. It's like a log across the river and the river's running by it. I really resonated with that, as I would. Weed. Just kidding. No, they're actually standing on a puffer vest.
Oh, look at that.
It's just, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Right?
It's
so he's
cool.
looking at these everyday objects. He's really pulling out something that contributes to what's going on in these. So in this video I have of him where he's working, there is this one shot in the video that just made me go, like I was like, oh my God, look at that. Can we look at that really quickly?
At the video.
So check out this video. This is one of his process. We're still on Mueck here, so give me a second, but let's look at the making of this green kiwi and watch when he pulls out his little chest of drawers with his people in it, because I just about died. Also, I've got this muted because I think he's using copyrighted music and I don't want to get slammed with some mute thing again like we had last time. Yeah. But check this out. You'll like this one, Dave. Her drawers of jokes, Joan Rivers. Am's on a tear tonight. I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here. Look at the drawer. Look at those people.
Yeah.
He's got thousands of them. Thousands. They're playing golf.
Oh my goodness.
Those are little sand traps in the middle of the little kiwis.
This looks like the first game of golf I played.
And the last game of golf you played.
Yes. And then we laughed.
And then we cried. Okay, so anyway, I love that one. And just here's one real quick other one. Here's a making of. I love this little surgery video.
This is good sugar art. I love it.
First of all, this guy's studio is just all drawers of stuff. He's a hoarder, but a neat hoarder.
I like this one because this is what I do every day.
Yeah, they don't know what you do.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Terry's one of those little people.
Yes.
First of all, he just opened a box that had compartmentalized tiny surgical equipment. Where the hell do you get that?
I don't know. He's very meticulous, very attention detailed.
But fast. Mm-hmm. There's a brilliance here in that sort of speed.
I wonder how long it does take him to complete this, though.
It can't be. And bam, and there it is. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is good stuff.
He's a lot of fun. He's got some books on Amazon because that's one of the ways that he preserves his work. He has showed in a couple of museums. There's been an ongoing exhibit in one of the museums in Japan. It's the Uriso Art Museum, and I think he just switches it up. I could be wrong about that, but that's the impression I got from the explanation of it.
Yeah, and I have a feeling we're not going to be getting there anytime soon. But,
no. But he's got several books on Amazon. You can Google him and look into it.
Audrey says, we need drawers of people. And Carolyn says, Todd, you would make it. Absolutely. I in my studio, there is this piece I made years ago for a Fluxus show that I was in, and I decided to sort of emulate one of the Fluxus artists' cabinets, where it's a very tall, thin cabinet with about 17 or 18, 20 tiny drawers in it. And of course, it didn't stay as an art piece. Now it's a utility drawer set of drawers for all my art, stuff, my supplies.
Here?
Yeah, it's the one. Well, it's not in Teeny's. It's over in the studio.
It's in the studio.
Yeah. So anyway, when it comes to tiny drawers of organized things and cataloging and that kind of hierarchy that's associated with that stuff, like as soon as I saw that in Tanaka's studio, I was more interested in thousands of figures organized in drawers as a system than I was necessarily in these outcomes. But the outcomes are, of course, like you said, they have, they have their place. Yeah. So,
well, I can definitely appreciate how he comes up with one a day. That's not easy for many, many years. Yep.
So we're coming down to the end of the wire. Am says, yes, funny enough, he makes me think of Ankawara. Yeah. Opposite vibe aesthetics, but same vibe practice. That's kind of interesting. Do you mean like the date paintings and the way they're organized on the wall. And I'm kind of going out there now. Everybody's like, wait, what the hell are they talking about? The date paintings. Okay, good. Yeah, I could see that. The daily practice, exactly. And I imagine, given the way, so Ankawara paints the date on a small painting every day. November 17th, 2020 would be one of those paintings, and it's a daily practice. And there's a real meticulousness now to the way that those are painted, because it just becomes this thing that, painted. Yes, rest in peace. Yeah, my bad. But again, it's kind of like that. So, one thing that, let's just quickly run back to the salts reading that we typically do and didn't do tonight, because I think we can end it on this. And I think, given what we just talked about with Ankawara, given what we just talked about with Tanaka's work, I think that this actually could be good for you, especially if you're thinking about making work, if you're joining me on Sunday to make drawings. This chapter from How to Be an Artist, it's chapter 11, and it's called Work, Work, Work. And it actually talks about one of my all-time favorite influences and references that I make in every class, almost every class that I teach, okay? And that is the artist, Sister Mary Corita Kent, said, and many of you know her, especially if you've had my class. She said, the only rule is work. If you work, it will lead to something. It's the people who do all of the work all the time who eventually catch on to things. And that's really true, right? And that's why I say 10 minutes a day. Okay, maybe you don't have a formal studio, but if you can catch 10 minutes a day, that's a practice. I have tried every conceivable way to conquer work block, that fear of working, which is fear of failure. There's only one method that works. Just work and keep working. Every artist and writer I know claims to work in their sleep. I do all the time. Jasper Johns famously said, one night I dreamed that I painted a large American flag, and the next morning I got up and went out and bought the materials to begin it. Just think, you might have been given a whole career in your dreams and not heeded it. It doesn't matter how scared you are. Everyone is scared. Work, you big baby. Work is the only thing that banishes the curse of fear. As Anne Lamott writes, butt in chair, start each day anywhere. Let yourself do it badly. Just take one passage at a time. Get butt, back in chair. And that is where we're going to leave you tonight.
Ooh,
I think that's a great place to leave. So
thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We think you're awesome for coming down here every Tuesday night and hanging out with us while we talk about art. Mom says, love the artist tonight. Great show. Am got spams for caps. Sorry about the bot. My bad. I have to sort of, tame that thing. But thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. Join us next week. We have the collecting show next week. We're going to talk to you about collecting art, how to buy other people's art, and what an appropriate time to do that than just before
Black Friday.
God-awful shitbag holiday. And it's a holiday, let's face it. But Black Friday has overshadowed Thanksgiving, the one time you don't have to go out and buy anything, as the American standard. So we're going to talk to you about how to go and find your peeps, how to go out and find people that actually make art and buy that stuff for the holidays and forget Amazon. All right?
Yeah.
So this is to you.
This is to you. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks very much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thanks again.
Good night.